And we are live finally after a couple of tech glitches, but we are finally live. How are you going, Jacob?
I'm very good, Oscar. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Let me just turn you up a little bit here. All right, so I'm one of your hosts, Oscar Chavez, and we have Jacob Galea here, who I say is Australia's #1 transformational coach and success coach. And we're here today to help prop you up on Success Sundays. And today we're going to talk about something that's not too sexy, money and budgets. But I think that all in all, it does come down to mindset. I've had a couple of conversations in the last few weeks just talking about strictly finances. And for some reason, we always go back to having the mindset discussion. Jacob, maybe you could elaborate here with me. Do you notice any differences between the old Jacob and the new, like the hyper successful Jacob and the old Jacob? Is there any key nuggets of wisdom that you can give us in terms of the differences when it comes to your finances?
Yeah, look, I love how you started this. That it's all about mindset. For me, uh, when you brought this topic to table for us in this Success Sunday, I was like this, man, because I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you why is I hate the word budget.
Yeah.
For me, mindset for me, budget is a negative word. It's like, a budget means I have to live in a parameter, in a boundary of X amount of in and out money. Um, for me, especially with my clients, instead of having a budget, one thing that we focus on is just increase income. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm all about income generation. I'm all about passive income. I'm all about more money in. And even the mentors I work with, Oscar, is the whole advice is the more money you can bring in, the less you have to worry about the word budget. Yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I've never wanted to live a life with a budget. Look, and I know people watching this, look, don't get me wrong, budgeting is very, very important. Um, but it is a mindset, Oscar, you're right. And if you live with the word budget in your mindset, to me, you're living limited, not limitless. But what are your thoughts around this?
Yeah, I reflect with you, right? So I'm the type of person that empowers people to just get stuff done. And so when we did the Success Sundays research, so I have someone that researches topics and puts stuff out there that we think people will want to talk about. And because I give so much trust, I don't even look at the stuff that gets approved. So this got approved for this week. It went through an approval process, got approved, went on, and I saw the post on my feed, and I was like, budgets. I'm like, I don't know if I want to talk about this, but it's already done. So let's just jump into it and see. Let's just see what happens. But
Yeah,
you know what? I'm the same as you. So budget is limited thinking. Budget is how can I put constraints on what it is that I'm going to earn, what it is that I'm going to spend money on. And it doesn't take into consideration the investments that you have to make in order to increase the wealth, in order to increase the income. And one of the things that I've been living by since the age of about 21 is not thinking to myself, or not even saying things like, I can't afford it. I can't say things like that. I have to say, how can I afford it? And that's a Robert Kiyosaki principle. It's like, if I can't afford something, I think to myself, how can I go out and ensure that I can afford that? And I go and create a system, I go and create a process, or I'll go do a proposal, or I'll go, contact some, I'll do some new outreach, because being an entrepreneur is really about sales, right? You've got to be great at selling. You've got to be out there. You've got to have a high level of activity. You've got to be building new relationships. But for me, that word budget as well is very constraining. So I don't necessarily follow a budget. I think it's good to forecast and, predict what you want to achieve for the year, like in terms of goals, absolutely. But the word budget is kind of like, there's, it's got to be a bit of a gray area when it comes to budget and you're trying to attract success, because if you see a really good investment opportunity, you have to flip it on its head and go, how can I afford that?
absolutely. And I love that. I think for me, when we do coaching programs and I'm working with people that have budgets, the objective is to get them to a space where they no longer need a budget. Imagine living a limitless life, a life that is full of potential, where a budget isn't required, where you can go and eat where you want and shop where you want and not worry about budgets. I mean, for me, there's probably a lot of accountants, that would watch this and would hate us. But at the end of the day, it's not about bean counting. What it's about is it's about income producing. It's about a mindset of limitless potential. When you think budget, you decrease your mindset. When you think no budget, you expand your mindset. Right now, as I said, people are watching this. Look, yes, if you've got a budget and you've got to live within a budget now, that's great. Good. Stick with it and keep living between your needs. But the long game for you is to not go to your grave without having the potential of having lived 30, 40 years of your life, not ever worrying about a budget. Because, what does budget mean? I mean, for me, if I've got any spare cash, if I've got any savings, I'm investing everything I've got in property. I want to buy the next property portfolio. For me, if I was working within a budget, some bean counter would say to me, "Oh, but you don't have enough to do that." Life's about taking risks, and the risks are about take risks that help you generate income. And that's the way I like to coach my guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And that comes down to a mindset, right? Because you're right. A lot of, accountants and CEOs even would look at this and go, you know what, you've got to set budgets for your business. And, absolutely. There's got to be, like we said, there's got to be a certain level of budgets, but we can't think limited all the time because I'll give you an example, right? You're running a company, you're running a budget, you've got an innovation fund, but then all of a sudden one of your competitors decides that they want to sell off their business and it looks like a good acquisition. It's a cash rich business, but the founder is just kind of sick of it and wants to get out of it. You don't think to yourself, oh, well, I don't really have the budget for that, so therefore I shouldn't pursue that opportunity. It's like, okay, there's an opportunity here. How the hell do I do it? If I don't have the cash right now, how can I go get the cash? Is there something that I can leverage, like some cash in the bank that maybe the bank could come and loan more money? Or maybe it's a relationship that you could leverage to get into that opportunity. So whilst it's important to understand where you're playing in terms of, the financial obligations, we can't let that constrain us. Because like you said, budget is one of those words that is very limiting. Like I see in my mind kind of like a box, and it's like you play here within this box, but that can't be what success is about.
Oh, no, Oscar, it's like, have you ever been to a restaurant and it's a top end restaurant and they give you the wine list and you're searching through the wine list, for example, and the sommelier says, what's your budget for a bottle of wine? You want to pick the guy up and throw him out the front door. It's an offensive word. It's like, what do you mean? I don't have a budget. I just want a good bottle of wine, right? Yeah, and it's and that for me, it's a negative word. It's if you go property shopping and someone says, look, what's your budget? It's like that word. It shocks your system.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment for some people. I think that, as I said, even if you do have a budget, the objective is to get some great coaching, get some great mentoring, read some great books to get yourself on the chessboard as a king or a queen, to play in a position where, imagine living a life where nothing anymore is budget orientated. I mean, how beautiful is that? You fly the way you want to fly, you stay where you want to stay and make it happen. I mean, at the end of the day, we live one life and you need to live one rich, full life. And to me, to live a rich, full life, if you want something, as you said, Oscar, you got to find a way to get it. So, if people are watching this tonight, find a way to break your budgets, find a way to get more income, find a way to produce more assets, find a way to do anything that you can do to bring in more money into your pocket, into your bank, into your portfolio, to be able to do what you want to do. Because let me tell you, if you have a life where budgets aren't important, and you don't have to live within a budget, you're going to start to live a very beautiful life. Is that what it's about? No. But it's a great feeling to be able to go shopping, to be able to go to a restaurant and have no budget. And that's what else do we work 100 hours a week to, not to live within a budget, is to be able to be in a position to do what we want when we want, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned really good resources and books and things that touch on this topic. There's a really good book that I love by John Maxwell, and it's called No Limits. And it really goes through the process of helping you understand how to really stop thinking limited. You've got to think unlimited. Don't, every piece of capacity that we think we can have, or that we think we have, we can actually get past that capacity. And it's not going to be like it's going to be double overnight. Like, maybe you're not in the position, or people watching are not in the position to double their income like that overnight. But if you work hard at it and you build that momentum, then it will happen overnight, and that deal or that next opportunity or that next partnership that you get. And so we have to think unlimited. Otherwise, I come across a lot of people, Jacob, in my coaching practice that feel so limited. And it's sad, right? It's sad because sometimes, it'll be a line item in a contract which says, there's no conflict of interest here. And it's like, and they perceive conflict of interest to be anything outside of work. And everything they do is towards that work or that job. And it's sad, right? Because what they're saying is that they're going to let a line item in a contract stop them from achieving their full potential and unlock
Yeah.
their full capacity and live the life of their dreams, right? So this is what Success Sundays is all about. It all, at the end of the day, all comes back to mindset. There's a post here by Richard Vargas. Thanks, Richard. Budget is mainly a starting point. We don't plan in business to stay at the starting point. We need to succeed, and thus you need a starting point, but it's not why you're in business. Thanks for sharing that, Richard.
Absolutely, Rich.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that book, take the cap off your capacity, has been one of my mantras now for a number of years, because anytime I feel limited, anytime I feel lack, you're not going to produce success out of that feeling and that emotion. So it's important that we just constantly just strive for growth. We constantly strive for growth. Is there any other mindset things that you've seen or blockages that you've seen, Jacob, in the field, where people are really blocked from getting that success because they're either thinking limited? How can we think unlimited?
Yeah, look, I mean, most limited thinking comes from your conditioning, comes from your past. It's, people that grew up in a household where, they heard their parents argue about money, or they always heard, yeah, it's a conditioning, it's in your DNA. Otherwise, because if you're brought up in a family, where money was no issue, then you don't live within a budget, right? It's a conditioning thing. So for me, rather than books, what I'd love to recommend here, and I've done this plenty of times well, is what's a really effective tool is go and see a really good hypnotherapist. And a hypnotherapist can work subconsciously it's called timeline therapy, and go back within your past and clear any blockages that you have around budgets, clear any beliefs that you have around money, and do a timeline therapy that goes to your past, and then do one that goes into your future. So I like to use subconscious mind tools. I mean, you can read all the books in the world, but there's a great saying, Oscar, that says just because you read a book on how to build a house doesn't mean you know how to build a house. And that's very true. For me, it's what are the practical steps? So step one, what would I do is I'd get a coach and mentor. Step two, I'd go and find a really good hypnotherapist. There's a lot in some really good cities that can really work with you on a mental level. It's an inside job. Go within, do your meditation, do your subconscious programming, do your visualizations, reprogram who you are from the inside out, and then disappear that word budget from your ecosystem, disappear that word budget from your world, and no longer exist in a world where that word lives in your world. So if you eliminate that word and you live in a world of abundance rather than a budget, then you will start to move as an individual in abundant space. But if you live in a budget world, you will also exist in a world full of budget, and you'll look for budgets and you'll look for bargains, right? And so it just depends. You got to ask yourself a question: what kind of world do I want to exist in? Do I want to exist in a wealthy, abundant world, or a budget and poor world? It's really up to you.
I love that. That's so deep and insightful. Do you want to live in a budget or do you want to live in abundance? I totally agree with that. I was actually thinking about hypnotherapy today. Because I know a little bit about it, and I know a lot about the mind and the subconscious mind, but I've not worked with a hypnotherapist before. I think it'd be great to sit down with one and just have a conversation, just to do some of that subconscious work. And you
Yeah.
can get there, you can, if you work really hard at it, you can get there yourself. You can get into your own subconscious programming. But the thing is, like you said, right, it's about sitting down and meditating, but people don't have the discipline to do it because they start to wonder about the next thing. They think about the next thing. They want to get up. They want to walk around instead of actually disciplining themselves to meditate and actually take that time out to clear the mind and to work on the belief systems. And this week, no, it was a couple of weeks ago, I read something incredible, Jacob. They were saying there's two different ways to visualize. You can visualize in the third person, or you can visualize in the first person. And they did some studies and researched people that were lifting weights with their biceps in their mind. And they were comparing people that did third person visualization to first person visualization. And the ones that did the first person visualization actually increased their muscle density without lifting any weights by about 13% over 3 weeks. So without even lifting a weight, we're talking about the power of the mind here. We're talking about the power of first person visualization. And it's one of the tools I've been using a lot. So when I'm cycling now, so I'm loving the cycling, just getting out there and just hitting it hard. And I'm really visualizing my body just getting stronger. I'm just getting faster. I'm getting lighter. I'm getting more agile. And I'm really just first person visualizing my success. And it's been doing wonders for my health. It's been amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you raise a very important point. And again, visualization is, I've been teaching this for 22 years, is a very, very powerful tool. But it's also about what you do when you're not visualizing. And because you can't spend your whole day visualizing, it's a period of your day. What happens is, what do you do when you get out of visualization? What actions are you taking? What networks are you being around? How are you investing in you? And because that's how, champions, to become a champion, you have to do what champions do. And
Yeah.
it's a lifestyle. Okay. To become a great business person, to be great in what you do for a living, you have to do it 24/7. You have to be obsessed with it. So it's a lifestyle. It's not a switch on and off. It's not oscillate in between excellence and sort of poor things. You've got to be on all the time, and you've got to be obsessed. I think when someone's obsessed, you can really see it. They're 24/7. They're reading, they're studying, I start every single day. I get up at 4:30. I watch the global markets on CNBC. I then go and buy the Financial Review. I'm start reading the Financial Review by 6 a.m., having a coffee, and start my day in that abundant space in what's happening in businesses. And, most people start their day, they hit the snooze button. They're late. They do the normal, the rat on the wheel type movement. It doesn't work like that, man.
Yeah.
If you want to be great, you got to do what great people do.
Absolutely. I love that. If you want to be great, you got to do a great bit. There's so many like great quotes that come out of these Success Sundays, Jacob. It's just fantastic. I fully agree with that. I mean, and living a life of abundance and living a life of truly being passionate is a life much better lived. For me, I've always had this philosophy of you've got to live a life that you feel's worth living. And the sad reality is that not everybody does that. A lot of people are frustrated. They've got this unhappiness. They wish they would have chased their dreams. Excuses, excuses, excuses. But the trick is, like you said, just get up early and do what successful people do. Just get up early, visualize, read the paper, sit down, think strategically. And we've got to have these disciplines. Like you said, if we want to be great, we have to just follow what great people do. And it's documented, right? It's in books, it's in documentaries. You can jump
Yeah,
on a Success Sundays and hear about what successful people do. This is the stuff that we've just got to do to get passionate and to really blow the lid off our capacity. Because if we're living a life with capacity, then that's not good. That's not right. Because why should we? Who told us that we should have those capacities? Where do those belief systems come from? Why are they there? Why can't we just believe that we're unlimited and we can just have this exponential growth in our lives?
absolutely.
I love it. Well, everyone, thanks for joining in, and keep putting in your questions below. Thanks for those of you that joined in. I saw you in there writing questions, and I appreciate that. Let us know what you would like us to cover in next week's Success Sundays, and we'll see you guys next week. Any closing words from you, Jacob?
Oh, look, for me, just a quote, a closing quote, Oscar, that success leaves clues. And, follow the clues. There's plenty of them out there. There's plenty of really successful people out there. There's some really great companies out there. There's some great mentors and coaches out there. Find them, follow them, because that's what's going to make you a champion. If you want to become a shark, you got to swim with sharks. And that's just how it is.
Absolutely. Great closing remarks. All right, everyone. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, guys.